last 10 years we've had this site called the Lake at the Lawn. It was pretty much derelict for 40 years. It was part of the old mansion called the Lawn. And we've just spent the last 10 years restoring it, and we thought the Diamond Jubilee weekend, we've got the Stroud on water next door. It was a fantastic opportunity just to invite people in, have a Victorian garden party, because this was a Victorian pleasure garden, and show people around. We've got a guided tour on with we've brought the gardener back from 1904, back from the grave, and he's guiding the guests around this afternoon, 3 guided tours.
Now the first thing to say is that whoever named the house, I reckon was a bit stupid really, because why would you name a house the Lawn? It must have caused confusion ever since. You take to people, I'm going to the Lawn, and they don't really know what you're talking about. But the house, the big house, was called the Lawn. And the big house was on the roundabout, just over here. And at the top of the lake, this is so-called lake, some of you might like to call it a pond, but at the top of the lake here, there was a tennis court. I'm following 1904 health and safety, so you're going to have to look after yourselves. And we're going to start by getting wet by loads of things.
We're tea and cakes in the marquee, Splat the Rat, and Skittles as well. But it's really just a chance to get people into the site and find out what a fantastic resource this is for Cainscross.
Would you like a cake?
Love to. How many teas are you selling?
A lot.
Take where you're standing now, so where we are at this very point, if you go back to 1100, was the last of 5 mills on the Ruscombe Brook.
Really?
So start right up at Ruscombe Farm, where the big pond is still now.
Yeah.
And you work your way down. There was one at Puck's Hole, one at Pagan Hill. There was the old brewery, was a mill, Cainscross Brewery, the other side of the road. And there was a mill exactly here. We know it was here because when we were excavating for the pond, we found a little bit of the old wall by the side of the lake. So you go back to 1100 core mill and doing some very light weaving, cloth making, because you only had a very slow moving river stream really to power the wheel. And where the chamber is, you can see it's about 3 meters deep, so that would have been deep enough to have had the.
There's a Skittle Alley, and there's a prize for children and a prize for adults. At the moment the adult score is 14 and the children's is 8.
Because this is the stream is the Parish Boundary.
Yeah,
so
the trees.
We're now in Cainscross, cross the bridge, and you're in Stroud.
Yeah, exactly.
You've actually got 2 councillors here in their day job.
This is the Cainscross.
I'm in his ward.
Welcome to the Cainscross ward.
We should do it over the bridge, shouldn't we?
Yeah, the 2 sides.
But we did a survey and we found out that Cash's Green Cainscross Parish, one of the most densely populated parts of the whole district, if not the most densely populated. It's only got, at that time, Hanwell Lees and Victory Park as the green spaces for people to enjoy. We did a survey of all the houses when we first took on the site, and only 1 in 10 people came here.
Isn't it crazy?
So you got a massive shortage of green space,
but look at it.
but people didn't know it.
It's beautiful.
And it was because it was so overgrown, people didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
There was lots of vandalism, there was lots of rubbish. It is what we took it on initially 6 years ago. We've been working 10 years on the whole project. We got a lease, 20-year lease 6 years ago. The 2 aims, we set up a charity originally called the Stroud Community Land Trust, and that's got 2 aims. One, to preserve and enhance places like this for people and for wildlife. Yeah. So we don't want a manicured lawn with swings and not nice and neat. It's wild green space for people. So creating the ponds, they're rare habitats for creatures. But that's only been there for 3 months. We've already got newts in there. We've already got tadpoles.
Is that a man-made?
Yeah.
Man-made.
Well, originally there were 2. The map that we've traced back from 1904 for the site when it was sold shows that there were 2 ponds. So there was the lake and then 2 lower ponds, possibly fish ponds, possibly to eat the fish, or could just been something to look at. And then uncovering it, we found a little pathway in between. So we could work out roughly where it was because there was a divot in the ground. So we just had to excavate it out and make the sides and everything.
Brilliant.
And then drag a 3-ton pond liner down through from Cainscross Road. So it had its challenges.
So this is all voluntary river, is it?
Pretty much, yeah. We had the whole project will have cost about £140,000.
And that's lottery funded?
And largely lottery funded. We've done some own fundraising and a lot of voluntary
good.
contributions,
That's
voluntary
brilliant.
times. We've had 600 volunteer days. So people from the whole community, 26 different local charities, community groups, Royal British Legion.
Over how long though?
Over the last 2 years.
That's amazing. Have you got the Stroud Valley's project?
Stroud Valley's projects have
had-
been doing
yeah.
all the volunteer. They've been fantastic. I've had the Ruscombe Brook Action Group, of course, getting involved in bits
The
and
Randwick
pieces.
Woodfield group came down and did a couple of bit of
The best, one of the best bits, because there was so many self-seeded trees, we had to take out about 100 trees.
Which is quite normal, isn't it?
And we could have paid a contractor to come down. Probably about 8,000 quid,
Yeah.
and all the wood would have just gone,
Yeah,
and somebody would have made some money, fair enough. What we've done though is use volunteers, so the two local woodland groups, Randwick,
Can have the wood.
could take it home,
Yeah.
but also then the Cotswold Canals Trust, they've taken the trees down, chopped it up into logs and sold it for their funds for the canal.
Thomas Hardy, born 1840. He started playing folky stuff seriously about 22 years later. And most of these tunes, not all of them, we've put some others in to give you some variety. Most of these tunes were in his about 1860 band book, which he wrote all out by hand so he could play. And a lot of the tunes are mentioned also in his books and stories of the Victorian era.
We've got there's a lovely red copper beech down by the canal. There's a lime down there as well. There's a couple of really nice mature trees. There's an Austrian pine, which is quite a rare
Really?
tree. Just there, it's got buzzards nesting in
Brilliant.
the top. Which tells a story from when it was an ornamental garden. And you got some, for the county council in the 60s, some really good highway amenity planting around the end. Things like Turkish hazel, some unusual stuff. And then you've got like self-seeded stuff, mainly sycamore, ash, and some laurel and yew that's just come up over the last 40 years by its own devices. So it sort of tells the story of the last 100 years of trees. We planted the orchard, which is just the other side. As part of the Stroud Apple Town, we heard of that. We know from the map that there used to be an orchard there and an orchard there. We put 11 of the Gloucestershire varieties, including the Lodgemore apple that was bred, created, whatever you do with apple trees, in Lodgemore Mill, just 100 yards down the road. So there's 11, there's cobnuts, there's pear, there's peach, there's cider
How
apple.
beautiful it is.
It is.
Just really beautiful.
It is.
Beautiful, so hidden, but a hidden gem.
Yes.
Next to the most monstrous building in Gloucestershire.
Indeed, yeah, but
Already we've been doing some surveys informally of the wildlife that's come here. We've got a kingfisher that visits regularly.
Brilliant.
We've got dippers, which are quite unusual because they need the water. 2 lots of bats that come here every night for the standing water. And the most amazing thing is you come here just at dusk. It's a bit like the Battle of Britain. All of a sudden all the ducks come in from all the various sites in the day. Because this is their bed and breakfast.
Of course it is.
So just careful if you do come down here walking the dog at night, you can spot a duck with the
Hotel
ducks.
Cainscross.
It is. There's frogs, there's toads, there's slow worms, there's newts in the pond.